Welcome to Living Well with Mary Lou Andre, a 30-minute monthly lifestyle program to help you live better on your own terms by being inspired by thought-provoking leaders who make the world a better place to live and thrive. I'm your host, Mary Lou Andre, and today I'm excited to introduce you to my guest, Karen Marinella Hall. Leadership coach and executive communications expert, Karen is not afraid to ask the tough questions. After all, she's been asking them from the very beginning of her impressive career. Many of you may remember Karen as the award-winning news anchor and reporter at WLVI-TV, Channel 56 in Boston. She was the last anchor at Channel 56, bowing out of her 20-plus years as a journalist when the station that amplified her voice and commitment to Boston left the airways alongside her in 2006. She then pivoted into the world of corporate communications and has never looked back. As an executive coach, Karen now helps leaders learn how to connect, communicate, and ask the tough questions of themselves and others in their quest to show up as the best leaders they can be. Karen always shows up for me, and today she is showing up for all of you too. Please join me in welcoming Karen Marinella Hall. Karen, welcome. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. We go way back, girl. We're not going to say how long.
No, we never will say how long, but we go way back.
But I'm so excited to introduce you to our viewers. You do not need an introduction. Everybody remembers you from way back in the day. We have a lot to cover in 30 minutes.
We do.
So,
go.
Let's get started. So Karen, you are born and raised in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Went to Plymouth High School.
Yes.
So let's start from there because I know a lot of the story, but I love the story. Let's walk our viewers through senior in high school. The whole world is in front of you. You're deciding what to do.
Yeah.
I heard that at one point maybe Catherine Gibbs.
Yes.
And then I heard an amazing guidance school counselor said, wait a minute, I think that there's something else you might
You've
consider.
got a good memory. You were listening to all my stories way
Yeah.
back then. That's so true.
Yeah.
My dad, no one in our family had ever gone to college. So raised in North Plymouth, a wonderful little Italian-Portuguese enclave of town, and working folk. And so this was new, this idea of going to college, and at least in our family it was very new. And so my dad said, well, you should go to Catherine Gibbs and become a secretary, and you'll meet a nice man and get married and settle down. This sounded great, sure. Until Mr. Thorson stepped in. And Mr. Thorson, bless him, said to me, would you do me one favor before you sign up to go to Catherine Gibbs? Apply to one college, just one. And I said, all right. And he said, because you're terrific as a writer. I was on the school paper or something like this. I applied to Emerson College in Boston, and I got in. And I had to go home and tell my dad. And that was an interesting conversation.
So tell us about that conversation.
So he came home from his job and was sitting he had his chair with his lamp.
They all had their chairs.
He had a chair, and he had his newspaper every night. He'd read when he came home. And he was sitting in there with his newspaper, and I walked in, and I said, Dad, I have to tell you something. And the paper came down, and I said, I got into Emerson College in Boston. I told him the story, and I want to go. And he said, oh, good luck. You're on your own. And went right back up to reading his newspaper. And I had to put myself through college.
So how'd you do that?
Oh my gosh, I worked like crazy. Got a little job at WPLM in Plymouth, which was the local radio station. I had the audacity to just walk in the front door one day and said to the lady at the desk, I just got into Emerson College in Boston and I need a job to pay tuition. Could I work here? And she said, come back tomorrow. I think she was smoking a cigarette or something like this. So I went back the next day and she said, you remind me of myself. You can start by answering the phones. And I worked through my entire college career. I worked full time and went to school full time, and they accommodated my schedule so that I could do both. Were you living at home, Karen? Or? And I had to, it was a requirement.
Okay.
My father.
Oh, you were living at home.
Oh, no, you can't live in Boston. You have to live in Plymouth and commute back and forth and have this full-time job. It was crazy.
Yeah. So what was the first moment that you fell in love with broadcast journalism?
It was at Emerson. I thought I was going to be a written journalist, a true blue newspaper type journalist. And then this whole notion of TV sort of came into the picture there. I had not really been exposed to the inner workings of what it would be like to be a TV journalist. Before that, I'd been on the school newspaper. Sure, I watched TV news, but it was at Emerson that I really saw this for the first time and fell in love with it.
Okay, so when you left Emerson, I believe your first job was in Portland, Maine. Is that correct?
Yes, but the first real TV job was actually on Cape Cod. So I went the cable TV route for a long time.
I missed that one. Okay.
So I started at a small, tiny little local community access station in Plymouth at that point, and then made my way to Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And I was at Channel 11 on Cape Cod before going up to Portland, Maine. So a little trajectory there.
And Portland, Maine, I think 2 years? Was that right?
Just
2.
Yes.
And then you got the call from Channel 56.
And that started while I was on the Cape. So on the Cape, lots of famous people are on the Cape in the summer. And someone in Chatham who owned a radio station saw me, said, I know Jack Hines, give me a tape. Jack Hines was the legendary news broadcaster at that time, and he lived in Chatham. Well, he took my tape to a news director in Boston, who called me and said, you're not ready for me yet, but keep in touch.
Wow.
So 2 years later, he did call me, and I kept sending him tapes every 6 months, and he hired me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you go right to the anchor desk, or were you a reporter first?
I was a reporter first.
So Jack was the anchor. Was there as a co-anchor at that point?
Yes, Darlene McCarthy.
That's right, Darlene.
I think Uma was there when I first was in there as well. Uma Pamaraju was in there as well, and then Darlene.
Darlene, that's right. I knew Darlene very well. Okay.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to how different the TV news is today from when you started. We'll go there in a moment. But talk most famous person you ever interviewed.
The most famous versus infamous.
Your choice.
Interesting. I think, God, there are so many presidents. So Bill Clinton, George Bush, both were interesting along the way. Who else? I mean, there were so many. I can't even remember. I loved Fergie, the Duchess of whatever she was at the time. She was a fun interview as well. That was great fun. I think the presidents are the ones that are always the most. And they weren't president at the time. They were running for president, both of them.
Right. And must have been a couple Kennedys in there if you were on the Cape.
Quite a few. I mean, that was our job. When we were on the Cape Cod station, we were basically chasing Kennedys around town. So.
Okay, so then I know the station closed in 2006.
Yeah.
And I mean, you had an amazing run. I think it was 17 years, something like that.
A long
and
time.
You were a Boston gal.
Yes.
So what did that mean to you personally to have that seat and that moment of time for 17 years?
Literally everything. I literally was so blessed to be in my hometown, basically. My family, we were all on the South Shore, so it was very special to know that my parents were watching every night, my community was watching every night, and it was just wonderful to be in that community and serving the community that I had grown up in. I loved it. I'm a Boston girl through and through.
Absolutely. And you and I met way back then, and I remember that you had an enormous pride, and I would say what you did was serve your community. So congratulations.
I loved
There's
it.
not many of us that get to do that.
I
That is
loved
an
it.
extraordinary gift.
Yeah.
So the lights go off at Channel 56. I was super sad because they were a client at the time. I was like, darn,
I know.
that gig's over. And then you, my friend, did an amazing pivot. So you decided to go all in on corporate communications. And of course, when I was watching you, I was saying to myself, and now I get to ask you, what was it like to go from all out front to behind the scenes?
It's crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So my first gig into corporate community, I didn't even know I could do that. And I had a wonderful
impressive, Karen. Very
kitchen
impressive.
cabinet of people. And I'm sure you have done the same thing over the years too. I always have a group of people that I can turn to for advice. And in this case, I had some very influential, famous people that I had interviewed who gave me some great advice and said, your talent can translate. And they helped me figure that out. But my first day in corporate, I remember calling this gentleman who was a mentor and saying, oh my gosh, it's like being in kindergarten at Harvard Business School. Because I had no clue what they were talking about. It was a completely different world than a TV newsroom. And I went home with a headache, I think, for 3 months. Just trying to learn.
It was no joke.
It was no
joke. And you're in corporate communications, and it's super cool. And you also decided to get your master's at that time.
I did. Again, I had a great mentor there as well. So the CEO of the company was someone who, as I understood it, wanted a communications person who was out of the box. So he didn't want somebody out of an agency or something with traditional background. He wanted something different. And I came along. So that was great. And I was really lucky to be able to work with him and travel all over the place with him and the senior team, et cetera, all over the world. I was everywhere. And at one point he said to me, you know, your business instincts are great. They're spot on. You should get your master's. And the company had a program where they were paying for it anyway, for extra education, and I did it.
Good
was
for
great.
you. So a
Great.
lot of your story is saying yes, taking risks, knowing that you can do it before you actually do it.
Right.
And that's a lesson I think all of us, no matter what age we're
Agree.
at, can take away today. So then you're there and you're doing, I'm sure you're doing a lot of writing, a lot of coaching on speeches and preparations and analyst meetings and
You
meetings
got it.
before the
Keep
board.
going.
I got it. So then you say, okay, time to wrap a bow here, and I'm going to be an executive coach. So I know that you worked for a couple firms, and you just, not just, 5 years ago, I believe at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
So there you go.
Great story on that.
Which actually probably was a good time to start a business in your space because people were stuck at home, people were losing their minds, people were learning how to communicate with teams in a whole different way.
Yep.
So, and you know, owning a business is not something that you just like step into either. There was what was some of the strategy and the decision making behind that, Karen?
Behind doing it.
Yeah, actually doing it.
It was really a client a former client who said to me, you really need to go out on your own and do this now. And I was scared to death, like, why would I ever want to do that? But then time sort of was becoming a thing for me. I really wanted more control of my time. I was traveling like crazy. I was getting sick, you know, from airplane travel and all that. And the kids, my children who are now grown, were, you know, on the phone, conference calling me. This was hysterical. After my second bout of near pneumonia, there was a conference call that I was brought into, and the children said to me, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing?
You telling me that.
So it all kind of came together of, you know what, I'm working really, really hard, and maybe I need to take a little more control of my life and enjoy, and then this will become a theme as I move forward. Really enjoy my time, my space, my people, really thinking about how I use my energy. And it was a great decision.
So a lot more freedom, although
A
running your own
ton
business.
more freedom.
Although running your own business, you're working more, but
A lot.
it
A
is
lot.
on your own time.
It is.
So I know that both of us have a true passion for executive presence.
Yeah.
When I met you, we were working
were
on
doing it.
executive presence, and I have to say to our viewers, because it's so funny, we used to shop at Jordan Marsh.
Oh gosh,
downtown
1,000
Crossing.
years ago.
And you know, it's just so funny how so many things have changed and so many things have not. So when you're coaching on executive presence, I know you do communications, but I know executive presence is something that
It's everything.
Is everything. So share, what are some of the myths about executive presence, and what are some of the realities of it?
I think some of the myths are it's just how you present, how you're presenting or how you're communicating with people. That's one sliver of it. It's much broader and wider, and it's different with every organization you go into. The cultures can dominate what executive presence is for that culture, and it may not be the case at another. So really understanding where a client is, what that culture is, and how they're showing up. And it's everything from communication to making decisions, leading your teams, inspiring those teams, motivating those teams, and the list goes on and on. So how you do that, it's all around how you're presenting yourself, not beyond just the idea of doing a presentation. It's all of it.
Yeah, and I know that we share a similar philosophy. It can be taught. I have people come to me all the time and they say, can't be taught, I don't have it, I don't possess this gene.
No.
So give our viewers a couple of pointers on how you teach how to
my gosh.
embrace and enhance executive
So
presence.
the first thing I do is really get inside the person. And I'm a big values person as well. So one of my first clients when I was on my own was an executive who was miserable. He was so unhappy, and the dog was mad at him, his wife was mad at him, his work was mad, everybody was mad at this man. And he'd gained a lot of weight, and he was depressed, you know, quite frankly. And we had to kind of dig away and understand what was at the root of all of that. And once we got to values and what made this person tick and realize he wasn't living his values in any way, shape, or form, And we got to the root of that, turned him around. He's still a client today, all these years later.
Yeah.
Living his values, the dog likes him, and his wife loves me. So
Okay,
that's all good.
That's success.
But it's really finding out what's at the root of what's holding someone back.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing you say is that when you were a news anchor, news reporter, the art of asking good
Without a
questions
doubt.
was huge.
Without a doubt.
And that has followed you through your career.
Without a doubt. It is the thread. And I'm not afraid to ask those questions. You're right.
Yeah.
I ask the tough questions, and I'm not afraid to give you honest feedback also. And I always say, but I do it with love.
Yeah.
But
and kindness.
I had
You
one
do.
today who someone was struggling with something and they're complaining and whining, and I usually look at I have a thing. I look at my watch and say, you've got 3 more minutes of whining, and then we're moving on. So it is what it is, accept it, and let's figure out how we move forward.
Yeah.
So,
And what other skills as a reporter translate into executive coaching?
I think that curiosity,
Yeah.
without a doubt. So
Yeah.
sure, being able to ask great questions, but then being really curious and trying to, I call it pulling the thread. Once you ask that question, it usually begets another
Yep.
question, which begets another question. And then you're really getting curious about this human and really being able to see that unfold.
Yeah. And getting back to how the times have changed, whether it's executive coaching or TV, where do you see things really, how much have they changed in your...
TV concerns me.
Yeah.
TV news
Talk
concerns
about
me a
that.
lot right now.
Yeah.
I really limit what I consume right now. I have found it so disjointed at some level, divisive at another level, too opinionated. We weren't allowed to have opinions when we were on TV. Who are all these people with all these opinions? I don't want opinions. I want facts. I want to figure it out for myself, what's happening out there. So I'm careful with what I consume. I find it can be draining.
Yeah, and then you throw AI in there, and you don't even
And
know.
you don't even know it's real. Yeah, so I occasionally will send something off to the children, and they're like, "Mom, you know this is AI, right?" So
Yeah, and same with
that's
me.
a
I was with
problem.
my son the other day, and I'm like, Tim, look at this. Tom Brady's
Right,
building
right.
a house for children in Boston. He's like, Mom, it's AI. And I'm like, how do you know it's AI? And he's like,
How do you know?
And I didn't know, but
I didn't know.
anyway.
That happened too. Yep.
So, and it's also even, people are just getting their news from the internet more and more as well.
Yes,
So,
as do I. But
Yeah.
I'm very careful about what I choose right now, where I go.
yeah. And going back to, what would you tell your younger self in terms of career advice now?
Right. I would be, and you'll know this having worked with me all those, I would be so much less nervous and much more confident. I was not as confident as I think I could have or should have been. It was always that inner voice that was
inner critic, right?
And some of it was television. You have to be thin, your hair needs to be just right, your clothes have to be just right, thank God for you. I mean, all these things had to be just right. And I think I was always questioning and self-doubting and all these things. And boy, that took a lot of energy, unnecessary energy.
Absolutely. And
So I think I
it's
would have enjoyed it
distraction.
much more.
Yeah, a lot of it was a distraction, I'm
Huge.
sure. Yeah, and because when I mean, I connect with smart women, Karen. You and I connected right away. I always just loved being around you to hear your point of view, the stories that you were covering. I always felt it was a privilege to help you with the showing up.
Great, yes,
and the
you did.
colors
You
and,
sure
and
did.
the fun and the energy. But going back to that moment in time, because it really was a moment in time, just a couple other stories. Like, what were some of the big events that you covered that you remember?
A couple of Super Bowls, some of the best.
You got to go, I bet.
Oh, gosh. So the first time Patriots were in the Super Bowl during the Kraft era, oh my gosh, that was so much fun when we were down there. All of Boston was there, first of all, so that was so much fun to be on Bourbon Street with all these Boston folks and this party atmosphere. I often say it was the best week of my life, much to the chagrin of children and husbands. But it was a terrific week. And then I had an opportunity also to go to Rome at one point to cover, I mean, it wasn't a fun story by any stretch, but the whole Catholic priest situation when they did a big conclave or a big meeting over in Rome. That was fun to watch as well and be part of.
Yeah, fascinating, absolutely.
Yeah, really fascinating.
And any other local stories? I think you were there. You were probably on the airways with 9/11. Were you?
I was on the air for 9/11. Brutal.
Yeah,
really
wow,
brutal.
Wow, that must conjure.
Oh,
up.
awful.
I can see it in your face
Just
right
awful.
now.
Just the whole scene was just awful.
Yeah. And how did you collect yourself and have composure in those kind of moments? Did you have a practice that you did, or?
I always would. So before, any time you go on the air, there were a couple of times when I just didn't have the composure, particularly when there was a child that was hurt or murdered or something. Those things always bothered me so much. And I would feel that when I would be out there. I would often think about, what is my job here? It's to inform the people who are tuning in tonight. So how do I want to show up for that? And that would help me ground. So I'd always take 15 minutes or so before the actual newscast to ground and think about how I needed to show up, for sure.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
your empathy actually, from that experience, I'm sure, impacts your ability to coach others.
You can see things and you can react to people if you're tuning into people. It's so important to tune in and really connect and understand.
And I just saw that you got one of the top executive coaches in Boston. Congratulations.
I don't know where that came from, but it was
I
so
saw
nice.
it last. I was writing to you, and then 5 minutes later I saw it on LinkedIn. So congratulations,
Thank
Karen.
you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Those that would like to explore your executive coaching practice, how can they find you?
You can find me at marinellahall.com. So I'm on there. Find me there. LinkedIn, I'm always on LinkedIn.
Yes, I know you are.
Always on LinkedIn. Thanks to Zoe. Zoe's my assistant. And Zoe said, you need to be on LinkedIn. And this was about a year or two ago. And I said, Zoe, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. So she's encouraged me to do that. And it's been really great. I've really seen a nice evolution of conversation with people on LinkedIn. It's been nice.
Yeah. So you're really in your third professional chapter.
I know.
What advice would you give to viewers that are like, do I have one more in me?
Yeah.
Should I pivot? Should I stay? What would be your advice?
You always can pivot. Always. I believe that if you choose to. And sometimes the pivot, I often ask this question, what do you want? Just start with that question and really think about what that question really means. Because some people think they have to pivot, they should pivot, somebody thinks they should pivot. What do you want?
Right. The power of the pause.
And go with that. What do you want?
Awesome.
And then you can pivot.
Yeah. Awesome. And the last question that I'll ask to all my guests, is what does living well mean to you?
Oh my God. And that's evolved over the years too.
Sure has.
Right now, living well for me is really getting in touch with what's important to me, what fuels me, mentally, physically, spiritually. And those are the things I fill my time with. That's my living well. When I'm taking care of my health, reading a good book, enjoying my faith, enjoying my family and relationships, these are the things, making a difference in someone's life as a coach.
Yes.
I come from that place of what fuels my values, what makes me happy. And that's living well.
Yeah, and I think it's also health really is wealth these days as we all evolve. And Karen, you have been by my side for many of my own chapters. This is a new chapter for me, and I'm just so delighted to sit down with you, my friend. We've had so much fun, and we got more fun coming, and it just means so much to me that you take the time, come down to Needham,
always will, and
sit with us for 30 minutes.
My pleasure.
And really, Karen, really impressive career, and you keep going, you keep changing lives, because we all need a little Karen in our ear to tell us that we can be the best that we can be. Thank you so much, Karen.
My pleasure.